Namaste. Welcome to the Ilongga Yogi Podcast. My name is Kate. I'm from Iloilo City. I'm a certified yoga instructor and certified in mental health counseling. I share content on yoga, mindfulness, fitness, mental health, self-care, and healing. Before we get into it, I want to let you know that I teach classes both in person and online. If you're interested in taking a class with me, just head over to bookwen.com/healing-iloilo for the schedule and rates and to book as well. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. A few things have been happening lately. I would say that June has been, again, another busy month. What's new? But for this month, we did celebrate International Day of Yoga very recently, so just a few days ago. And so it was really successful. I had a lot of students join, and it's nice to just see the community here in Iloilo slowly growing, continuing to grow. And I was very happy to see new faces and old faces come back and practice with me. So it was just like a really fun day. And I also held other classes this month. I had another free yoga class earlier in the month. I had my usuals, my workshops and my healing circles. And it was just so nice to connect with students in a deeper way because, back then I used to be very hesitant to do things like that where I connect with my students. I was always so afraid of connecting with them. So I would put like a barrier up or a boundary between me and my students a lot. I would kind of avoid getting to know them more or getting too close or attached to my students. But I think lately I've just become more comfortable with it and more open to them and just allowed myself to just be me whenever I'm around them instead of just being a teacher. So I've started to blend those two together a little bit more instead of just trying to be this persona all the time. So that was really nice to get to know my students a little bit more, to treat them as friends or to treat them as family. So that was a nice experience to have this month. And actually tomorrow I will be heading to Cebu for the weekend because I have a yoga retreat that I will be joining. And honestly, this was something that I kind of didn't want to do. I was very, very anxious about it. I always get anxious whenever I have to travel somewhere alone, wherein I'm not with my partner, like all the time. Every single time I travel anywhere, days leading up to that, or even sometimes weeks leading up to that, I get very, very, very anxious. So like right now, I'm very anxious. My chest is very heavy and tight and it's hard to breathe. So I'm just trying to focus on what to look forward to there because this will be my first yoga retreat where I get to, second, I'm lying. So my second yoga retreat where I'm joining but also teaching. I've never attended a retreat where I don't do anything at all, like it's not work related at all. So but the good news is that I get to come along and tag along and enjoy the whole experience of being in a retreat in a different place outside of Iloilo. And, for me and my yoga teaching partner, she really wanted us to do this so that we can also learn from other teachers what they do and what we can also provide here in Iloilo. So it's really more of a learning experience for us, and I would love to go back to Cebu. That was actually part of my bucket list for the year, is to go back to Cebu and actually do something yoga related. So either like join a retreat, join a class, and then get to experience Cebu in a different way, because the last time we were there, we only had like one free extra day. So we didn't get to do much. So it was, I didn't get to like explore Cebu or live the Cebu life that I would have, I guess, imagined. So hopefully this time I can do that. I'll be there for several days, not just for the retreat. I'm actually going to be there until next week. So I will be doing other stuff there too. So for example, because for those who don't know, I have another job. I have like a secondary consulting job that I do. And so It just so happens that one of the offices are also there. So I will be hitting two birds with one stone by also getting to visit that office and then doing mental health work stuff there and enjoy myself in Cebu, because I will be kind of on my own for a couple of days, because my partner will be leaving before me. So that's going to be an experience. Again, I'm just very anxious and nervous and stressed about everything because I haven't packed up at all. And like my flight is early tomorrow morning, but we're getting by today. What matters is we focus on right now. And then yesterday I felt really good and refreshed because I had like a whole day just at home. Again, whenever I schedule everything, I make sure that I have one day during the week that I have off. So that has been the most, helpful thing that has worked for me over the past few years, because I just don't function well when I work straight. So you know how our typical working schedule is like Monday to Friday? That does not work for me, because for me as a yoga teacher, I also have Saturdays and Sundays, or Saturdays where I teach, sometimes Sundays where I teach. So I have to have one full day where I'm not doing anything, not working, where I don't go anywhere. So to me, it was yesterday. And it worked for me that in the morning I started early and went to the gym to work out, because then that's out of the way and it just feels so much better mentally. Because if I don't do that, I find that I get more anxious throughout the day, or I easily get stressed throughout the day, or even depressed by the end of the day. So I did that first, and then I spent the rest of the day doing a Harry Potter marathon and just like allowing myself to enjoy that, because I knew that Saturday and Sunday was going to be busy for me. And even though technically I am going to be in Cebu and in this yoga retreat, I also know that I'll be teaching Sunday morning, and so that's also still work to me. So I wanted to make sure that I have one full day where I enjoy it to myself, and I'm just at home and I savor the time being at home just with my dogs and enjoy that. So that's what I did. And one last update is actually right now, before I recorded this, it was the pre-registration for the Eras tour of our dear Taylor Allison Swift. And so, I haven't always loved Taylor Swift. I remember back when I was in high school, I just didn't like her music. I didn't like her at all. I thought she was too pop princess and everything. But in time, especially when her Speak Now and Red album came out, I fell in love with her music, her lyrics, and just everything that she did. And so I am now a Swiftie. And that's all I would listen to ever since the Eras tour came out or began. I just would listen to her set list every single day, pretty much. So because there's nothing else that I'm interested in that plays on Spotify that has like the impact that her lyrics have, that isn't like too sad as well, because I also love Sarah Bareilles, but her music can be very depressing and could trigger me. So I have Taylor Swift, wherein I get to sing to her music. I love her songs. I love her lyrics, and I love the things that she does. So there's that. Today was the pre-registration, so I did all of that while I was at a co-working space, also juggling work at the same time. So it was quite an experience. I do hope, though, that me, and along with everyone else who may be listening who is also a Swiftie, gets a ticket at one of her shows. And I think that's definitely something I want to do, because next year, part of my bucket list, part of what I've been trying to manifest, is to travel outside and to be able to go outside with my partner. So because we've never traveled outside of the Philippines together, and we're married now, but we never got that chance because of COVID. So hopefully next year we get to do that, and hopefully it's at one of the Eras tour dates. And if it's meant to be, then we'll be able to go to Singapore, hopefully, because that's the only Southeast Asian tour, and I know everyone is gonna try to get tickets there. But if it's meant for us, then hopefully we will also get tickets to her Singapore dates, one of her Singapore dates. But if not, then it's fine. it is what it is. Maybe I'll just live a life where I never get to see her play in concert. That's okay with me. But so that's basically been the update with my life recently, and everything has been pretty well and pretty good. And I would say, even though I've been very, very busy with work and a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things have been happening, I would say I feel the best that I've ever felt, physically, in my body, and mentally as well. And I would like to say that it's because of the things that I've changed when it comes to my workout routine and just in the way I eat as well. And that's why I wanted to talk about this topic: what is the best way to lose weight as a woman, or basically just talk about fitness and food for women, because the people around me, especially now with all my students, I always hear the same beliefs, the common beliefs about exercise and diet when it comes to women. And it's like, I so badly just want to tell them right there, then and there, that that's wrong, that's false. But at the same time, it's just such a deep and long topic that I know that probably something like this is a better place to do that. And so that's why I really wanted to talk about that today. For one, the most common belief that I hear is that when it comes to your food, your diet, and your exercise, women always think that they need to restrict themselves. I always hear that, like, as a woman, oh, I'm not going to eat rice. I'm trying to avoid rice. I'm trying to avoid carbs. I'm trying to do IF and keto and trying to eat less. And for me, I wish I could just say that it doesn't always have to be that way, because I used to believe in that too. But now, after years of all of that, of trying to do different diets, I've realized that that's not actually what works for me and what works for a lot of other people. So that's one, always thinking that you have to restrict yourself in order for you to lose weight. Second is that I always hear women say, I'm so fat, especially when they look at their stomach and their stomach isn't flat. To them, that equally means that they are fat. And again, it's so frustrating to hear that, because it's like you look at them and you're like, what? That's not true. And why does it even have to matter? So that's another thing that I know a lot of women feel when it comes to their bodies and what they think about themselves, is that they are automatically fat whenever they see their body in the mirror, especially if their stomachs are flat. Even though they're really, really skinny or thin, they still feel fat. Third is that cardio, running, other exercises like dance, Pilates, yoga, treadmill work, all of that stuff, when it comes to cardio, they think that that's the best way to lose weight, because they're so afraid of lifting weights, thinking that they'll get too muscular by doing it. So that's another thing. That's actually a very big topic that I also will be focusing on for today, because a lot of women are so afraid of a dumbbell, of a barbell, and they think that when they do that, that's like too much, that they'll hurt themselves, or they'll get too muscular, or they'll get too big. But that's not always true, and I'll tell you why later on. I'll tell you how you can avoid that as well. And lastly is that a lot of women don't consider their conditions or their injuries whenever they try to adapt a certain workout routine or a certain diet. And so that's very, very important, because like for someone who has endometriosis, who deals with anxiety, with depression, and who's also trying to figure out a current medical condition that we can't quite pinpoint what it is yet, you have to consider all these factors. And so I definitely hear a lot of people, or know a lot of people, who try to follow a diet, but it's actually very counterintuitive to their condition and they don't realize it. So that's another thing that I also wanted to focus on. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk about my juice brand, Daily Greens. If you're in Iloilo City and looking for healthy juice that doesn't have any added sugar, no preservatives, and is packed with a variety of vegetables and fruits, then you should try Daily Greens. With 2 flavors, we have the Greens Blend, a blend of 11 vegetables and fruits, and Carrots Blend, which is 50% carrots and a mix of other vegetables and fruits. This is unlike any other juice sold on the market. Most juices are packed with more fruits to help it taste better, but completely miss the point of being a nutritious and healthy drink. Remember, fruits are still filled with sugar and must be enjoyed in controlled portions. Daily Greens make sure that you get the most out of a bottle, packing it with more vegetables than fruits and making it fresh, not to mention affordable for everyone. You can enjoy a bottle or 2 every day, which is perfect if your goal is to maintain healthy yet easy habits in the long run. You can order directly from Healthy Kitchen or Salads and Wraps and also other establishments that sell Daily Greens. This is your sign to start building healthier habits in the most convenient way with Daily Greens. So the truth about exercise and diet, especially for us ladies, first, every person is going to be different. There is no one size fits all type of diet or exercise routine that will create a miracle. So some could work for you, but maybe it won't work for somebody else. Maybe a specific diet and exercise routine actually made you reach your goal, but then it completely harmed your physical health and your mental health in the long run. So I always want you to keep that in mind. And also, maybe just stop commenting on other people's bodies, period. If you see, like for me personally, every time I notice a person has changed physically in their body, I just keep quiet. I don't say anything. I just say, you look good, you look great today, or I just don't say anything at all, or do you feel tired? Do you look tired? Are you tired? Are you stressed? That's kind of the most that I will refer to when it comes to their physical appearance. But that's one thing like I've stopped doing, is to say anything about a person's body or weight. And that's it. I don't like to talk about a person's diet or a person's food habits, eating habits, because I just want to avoid that topic because it's very sensitive. People could be triggered by certain things like that. So that's another thing. Like if you're listening to this, maybe just stop commenting on other people's bodies and stop commenting about your body too, and that's that. So I wanted to start with diet, right? Because that's like one of the first things, the main things that I want to also tackle is diet. Before you start any diet, I always want you to ask yourself if it's sustainable for you, because that's something that I do. Before I do any sort of diet, is a keto diet actually sustainable for me in the long run? Or is doing IF also sustainable for me in the long run, knowing that this is my schedule? Would it actually work? And I always want you to start with that, because I don't want you to try and test the diet and then fail or be unable to continue to be consistent, because then you're just kind of hurting your body even more and you're hurting your mental health even more. So first, ask yourself, if I choose this way of eating and this schedule of eating and this form of eating, does this work for me in the long run when I'm 50, when I'm 60? Would it still work for me when I'm pregnant, when I'm this and that, when I have a baby? All these factors, always think about that first. Never fall for those diet fads or those workout routines that you see online. Just because you see it online and you see this girl doing it and it works for them, they look great, doesn't mean that it's going to be easy for you or that it's going to work for you. So always think about that first. The next thing is, when you are deciding what sort of eating habits you should follow, listen to your body. So for example, for me, for a while, I wanted to practice IF, but I was very particular in not being too strict about it, because I know my body and I know there will be days where I am hungrier than I usually am and where I am not hungry as I would be, so it will always fluctuate. That's another thing, as a female body, as a woman, your body is constantly changing throughout your cycle. So you have to remember that we have a cycle, and this kind of dictates our life, right? So it's very important that you listen to your body and you listen to your cycle and you honor that, and you base the way you eat based on your cycle, based on how you're feeling for the day. So for example, there are days when I wake up and I eat my first meal way past 10 a.m. That's going to be my first meal because, for example, I'm teaching early in the morning and I don't want to be full when I teach, and I feel so much better. I feel more awake. Whenever I eat so early in the day, like let's say 7 a.m., and then I have to teach right after that, I just feel sleepy. I feel sluggish whenever I teach. So it works for me to put it off for a little bit and eat later on after I teach. Right? But then there are also mornings when I wake up and I am so hungry. I feel like I could eat a whole platter of chicken and pizza and everything, and like everything you can imagine, fries. I want to eat it all. And sometimes I let myself do that, especially if I'm starting to get dizzy and my head's starting to hurt. I allow myself to do that. So I listen to my body. I don't like to go against it because your body will really feel a certain way and communicate that with you by certain sensations. Maybe you start to get sick a little bit, you feel sick. So it's very important that you listen to your body and understand that your body is constantly shifting every single day, every single week. You're on a different part of your cycle. So just always keep that in mind. The next thing is that a good and well-balanced diet should be sustainable. Okay, it should be sustainable, meaning again, through all the phases of your life, through all the chapters of your life, you should be able to bring that diet with you. You're still able to eat a certain way because we want to be more consistent in the long run than constantly change every few months, right? That's too much. I feel like that's way too much on the body. It's too much transitions and adjustment that your body and your digestive system will have to go through. So make sure that whatever diet you do choose, that it's sustainable for you in the long run, no matter what happens. And that it doesn't feel like you're restricting yourself. Right? We always think that in order for us to get this perfect body, to be healthy, we have to restrict ourselves. We can't eat carbs like rice and sugar. But to me, it's honestly about balance. I would rather let myself eat a bar of chocolate than to stress over it again and again and kind of go crazy thinking about it all the time. So to me, it's all about balance, because the more that you restrict yourself, the more you crave for it, right? So I would rather just let myself eat whatever I want to eat. I will let myself eat that, but also be mindful that there has to be a bit of balance here. I cannot just let myself eat this every single day. I have to pull back a little bit. Maybe allow myself to eat this now, and then the next time I eat it, give it some time, and then see if there are other replacements that I can take, wherein I can lessen my cravings. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And so it's all about not restricting yourself too much, because the more you restrict, the more you will crave. The next is, if your goal is really about losing weight, a certain amount of weight, this is something that my partner, my husband, who is a coach, right, an L1, CFL1 coach, is that you have to be at a calorie deficit. Oh my gosh, you should probably the one, he's supposed to be the one talking about this, but basically you should eat less calories then you burn, right? Yeah. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that if you really do need to lose weight for your health, then you have to lessen what you eat, right? But when you look at your plate, you can still eat a full balanced meal. It doesn't have to look so boring and so plain and so sad. You can still add your protein, your healthy fats, your carbs, and lots of vegetables. But it's all about changing your portions a little bit and making better choices, because you want to make sure that every meal you eat, especially if you have a goal of losing weight, is intentional and there's a purpose to it. So always keep that in mind, that I would rather, which is something my husband always says, I would rather you eat a full bowl of salad and protein with your meat, and with your carbs, than eat fries, which is like the same calorie. I don't know, you know me. I don't know, but like it's the same amount of calories, but you get so much more nutrition from that bowl of salad with protein, and it's all complete, rather than just like a bag of fries, which is very me. But also, if that's really your goal, then lean towards very good, well-balanced, nutritious whole foods, rather than processed food, right? So that's another thing when it comes to your diet. Now, I want to proceed to your exercise. What type of exercise routine should you actually follow? So just like food, you have to find a sustainable workout routine that is well-rounded and balanced for you. And because of that, I highly recommend joining a class if you're someone who easily gets bored working out alone at a gym, unsupervised. Because for me, that was what worked the most. When I was younger, ever since I was in college, I believe, when I had access to a gym, I would work out alone, and I would just follow workouts online. But when I started joining a CrossFit class, that's when everything changed for me, because I have never been as consistent as I have ever since joining a class at a gym where you have a coach who is supervising you and guiding you. I've never felt more motivated to show up at a gym and feel like I'm more disciplined now, more committed and consistent, because you're surrounded by people who can support you in your journey too, and you see how stronger they get, how much fun it is to be around people, and it just makes you want to also do that and be there too. So that's why I highly recommend joining a class if you're somebody who gets easily bored, and making time for it. It's all about making it happen as if it's the most important appointment that you have for the day, because that's how I always look at it. So if you're able to join a CrossFit class, or a gym class, a dance class, a yoga class, Pilates class, please make it happen. Do that so that you can start to get more consistent, right? Now, what I also appreciate about CrossFit is that, or functional fitness, however way you want to refer it as, is that it's well-rounded. Like I mentioned, it's really good if you have a well-rounded workout routine where you get to target different aspects of your physical health, right? So it's very important to me that I join a CrossFit class so that I get to work on my conditioning, I get to work on my strength, I get to work on my core strength, all these different things, gymnastics, right? But also I do other forms of exercise so that I can also target other parts of my body that may be weaker, that don't get to be addressed as much in a CrossFit setting. So that's why I love Pilates as well. I do that every now and then. I love to dance because it feels great. It makes me feel very empowered and sexy. And that's very important for all of us ladies. And I love yoga. Of course, yoga is number one because that's what keeps me calm and grounded, but also it helps release a lot of the tension and stiffness in my body from working out, and release all the aches and pains that you just experience as you get older. So that's another reason why it's all about finding a class that works for you, a schedule that works for you, and mixing it up. So for me, I no longer work out at the gym every single day like I used to, because I noticed that it no longer worked for my lifestyle. Like I would easily get burnt out. I easily would get tired and drained. Like it would be so hard to teach sometimes and to work at the same time. So I had to make a shift. And so what works for me is that I typically do more weightlifting and less metcon. That's what we call like cardio work in CrossFit. So I do more weightlifting about twice a week. I'm also trying to incorporate a little bit of metcon, for example, using some of the machines, like maybe spend some time once a week on the bike, and then maybe on the rower, or maybe practice my DUs. So things like that, so that at least I can continue working on those skills and exercises. But definitely the majority now of my workout is weightlifting. And then I continue practicing yoga every day as much as possible. And then I try to do other activities like Pilates or bar or dance or walking my dog every now and then. So I kind of mix it up throughout the week. And to me, it's just all about moving my body, getting out of bed in the morning so that I don't feel so lethargic and lazy. So this routine has worked for me so much more. And it's something that I'm also continuing to develop and evolve through different phases that I go through. Now, about weightlifting, I know a lot of women are so afraid to do weightlifting, to use weights, to even touch a kettlebell or a dumbbell or a barbell. But the thing is that whenever you start your journey in weightlifting, you're not going to be expected to carry really heavy right away. You're going to start really slow. You're going to start at the lowest weight possible, at the starting weight that everyone goes through, and then work your way up. Now, if you have other goals, so for example, if your goal is to just simply lose weight, you don't want to lift heavy, then that's fine. You can adjust. That's the thing about working out is that an exercise is that everything is scalable. You can scale down so that it's more accessible for you and you can make it easier for you depending on what your goal is. It's just like yoga. If you're somebody who already practices yoga, I always say that in class is that you can rest if you need to. And there have been many times for me when I join a class, if for today, I just want to stretch my body and it just so happened that the class I joined is pretty intense, I'm going to keep my knees down. I'm not going to do everything that the teacher says. I'm going to scale it or modify it as much as possible so that I can still have a good experience all throughout. So that's the thing when it comes to weightlifting. In 2019, when I started my CrossFit journey, to me, I wanted to gain muscle because I noticed how thin I was and I didn't like it anymore. So I wanted to gain muscle and gain strength to help me in my own yoga practice. And I was able to accomplish that in less than a year. I was able to gain enough muscle and it felt really good in my body. I felt beautiful. I felt confident and sexy during that time. And it really changed my relationship to my body, to my physical body. And then when 2022 came, after COVID, we all gained weight. So when 2022 came, I wanted to trim down a little bit. So this is where I started to change my eating habits. I started to change my exercise routine, and I was able to achieve that again in less than a year. And now I'm really happy with where my body is at. It's not perfect. I never expected it to be perfect. There are many parts of my body that in the past I would have probably wanted to change, but now that really doesn't matter to me anymore. And so this is why I love weightlifting so much, is because you can accomplish so much in a short amount of time when it comes to weightlifting. And I just wish more women realized that and weren't so afraid of it, because again, you can always adjust your workouts to suit whatever your goal is. And weightlifting is just so good for your body, for your strength, for whatever goal you have. Now, as I mentioned earlier, yoga is also very important. It's my way of balancing it all out. And that's something I always tell my students who already go to the gym, who are athletes, is that, practice yoga once a week if you can, or once every other week, whatever works for you, because at least you can release a lot of the stiffness, the aches and pains that you experience. Honestly, yoga is the answer to that. It's the best way to relieve whatever it is that you're feeling. But also, as women, we need a practice such as yoga to help balance out our hormones, to help regulate our hormones, to help us release stress, which we experience a lot, that can affect our cycle, can affect our health, can affect our mental health as well. So if it's possible for you to always include yoga in your routine, by all means, make it happen, make it work. Now, as I mentioned earlier about our conditions, it's very important that we take into consideration all our conditions, all our injuries. And the reason, for my workout routine now and my eating habits now is because of my endometriosis and my anxiety. And like I said, my current health issue that I'm trying to figure out. And so I've noticed that whenever I do too much cardio or metcon in class, right afterwards, I would bloat. I would bloat so much and it would be so painful. But ever since I've stopped doing that and kind of managed it a little bit more, wherein I control how often I do cardio work, I have felt so much better. I've never bloated in my life ever again since then. And nothing much has changed in my diet ever since too. So I know that it's because of too much cardio work, and a lot of people also have the same experience in terms of doing more weightlifting rather than cardio work when they have certain conditions such as endometriosis. So for those who have PCOS, they find that weightlifting works so much better for them, just like very low impact type of exercise works best, and that has worked so well for me. Now, I've also tried to move daily, but keep it within my range, wherein I'm not stressed, because I don't want to stress myself out whenever I work out or feel so tired afterwards. So it's very important to me that I just move enough that my mental health is in check, because I know that if I don't move, if I just kind of stay in bed all morning, I easily get depressed, I easily get anxious. So it's important to me to move my body and to get out of the house and to do it as early as possible if I can. And so this is why, you have to take into consideration all of your conditions, everything that you've experienced, your injuries, all of that, to ensure that you have a good experience when it comes to your exercise routine. And that way it's more sustainable and you start to look forward to it rather than dread it. Lastly is all about body image, which is very, very important as well. And, for me, I've had a terrible relationship with my body. And I know that a lot of you can relate to that too. I always saw myself as fat, even though I was so thin. I always wanted to have a flat stomach. And I felt like without a flat stomach, I'm just not beautiful enough. I'm not sexy enough. I'm not good enough. But when I started CrossFit and working out at a gym, that completely changed my relationship with my body, because I realized that my physical health, my mental health, my endurance, my strength, those are way more important than how my body looks. Because if you see a lot of people who do CrossFit, their bodies are very different. They have very different body shapes, and they all have unique bodies. And then you see that even though their body looks a certain way, they're so strong, they're so fast, they're so healthy, they're so fit. And so I realized that, it's actually not about how your body looks, and that should never be your motivation to work out, because that will always be short-lived. Right? That will always be short-lived. It has to be something that's for the long term and sustainable. And that's why I've completely let go about how my body looks and describing that as something that is not good enough, or really hating my body, almost to the point of bullying my body because of the way it looks. And so, like I said earlier, when someone mentions, oh, I'm so fat, my stomach is so fat, my arms are so big, and you just kind of look at them and think, but her body looks so normal. Like, what is she talking about, right? And that's exactly how others feel when you say the same thing about yourself. So just keep that in mind. Who said your body has to be perfect? Like, who said your body has to look a certain way, that you're not allowed to gain weight, that you're not allowed to not have a flat stomach, and if your body doesn't look a certain way, then that means you're ugly, you're not good enough, all these different things. I want you to again remember that our body as women, they go through so many changes. Every single week, our body is changing. We are going through a different part of our cycle. Even every single day, we feel something different. We go through a lot of things in life, and you cannot expect your body to look exactly the same throughout the rest of your life. You are going to lose weight. You are going to gain weight. Your body will change in time, and that's just the reality of things. And once you accept that in yourself, then you will have a much better experience when it comes to exercise and fitness and health and food. Each person has such a different and unique body, and we have to detach ourselves from how our body looks. That's not how our body looks. That does not equate to our value as people. Okay, always remember that your value as a woman should not be defined by how your body looks or how fit you are or how healthy you are or how sexy you are or how beautiful you are. That doesn't matter. So detach yourself from the way you look and find meaning and value in yourself outside of your weight, outside of your body. I would much rather be happy and healthy regardless of what my body looks, because I know that this body is constantly going to change for the rest of my life. So just to sum it all up, a lot of women in my life have the same beliefs when it comes to their body, their diet, and their exercise routine, which is most of the time very, very wrong. A healthy body and mind follows a routine that is sustainable and feels good and is not restrictive. Always remember that there is no one-size-fits-all workout routine or diet plan. So listen to your body, do what feels good and easy for you, and always consider all of your conditions, all of your injuries before you decide what plan to do, what routine to do. Increase your vegetable intake with every meal. Pretty much just increase your vegetable intake. And commit to every meal being intentional and being good for you instead of mindlessly eating whatever is fast and easy for you. Another is to commit to joining classes that make you feel confident and strong. Ladies, don't be afraid of weights. They are so good for you. Don't forget to practice yoga regularly as well, because this can regulate your hormones and help you de-stress to avoid stress eating and insomnia, and as well as anxiety. And lastly, change your relationship with your body. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ilongga Yogi Podcast. If you'd like more similar content, you can learn more on my blog and socials, which will be linked in the show notes. Wishing you peace in the body, peace in the mind, and peace in the heart, wherever you are. Always take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next time.